Okay. Are we online, sir?
Yes, sir, we are live. Please go ahead.
Okay. Uh, Hello, friends. As if this is our fourth session in the AICT sponsored Prerna scheme for SCST and SCST students, I'm Professor Sarvesh Bajurkar. As discussed in the last video, we have gone with the programming and data structure topic. And in today's class, in that we have covered Boolean algebra along with the programming in C basic concepts. In today's class, we are going to see about arrays, stacks, and queues. As if it's a part of the data structure, we can say that without array, data structure is nothing. So first of all, what we are going to cover in today's class is like array basics, arrays in classes and methods, programming with arrays and class, sorting arrays, and multi-dimensional arrays as well. What is the motivation behind it is why we are going to study the arrays as a topic in data structure. As I have just now said that without arrays, you are unable to understand what is data structure. Array is nothing but a collection of similar type of data elements. What is similar type of data elements? How to organize 100 students in 100 student objects, 100 different students having object names. I mean, if every student has their own identity, all the students are of similar data type, we can say that all the students are of same category, but we have to organize them in an efficient access. That means for a class, say different data types in one object, and for an array, say multiple objects of a same type. Both are quite different than each other. Like classes are nothing but the different data types in one object, whereas array is a multiple objects of the same type. Arrays is called as a multiple objects of the same type. What is the overview behind it is an array. It is a simple single name for a collection of data values. All are all of the same data type. Third one is subscript notation to identify subscript notation to identify one of the values, whatever that values it may be. Of course, if you are using the data for a data value of a similar data type, definitely you can able to arrange it in a proper sequence, arrange it in a proper order, arrange it in a proper format. A carryover from earlier programming languages may be used. Then more than a primitive type, less than of object data type. Like objects, when we are going to use as a method parameters and return types, whereas do not have we do not have an or use interface in between them, since we are already using the data of similar the packets of similar data type. What is the reason behind it is, say we are accessing each values in an array by usually we are using, say, for loop. Next, creating arrays in data in any type of programming language. Let us consider C. If we want to create an array, there should be a base type where array name is equal to new base type, whatever that thing. Say 80 element length or 80 element array with base type character, like character symbol, new character, say 80. That's it. It is able to create an array of 80 data set or 80 characters. Of course, it is of similar data type. Likewise, we can also use it for reading, for double, for species. It may be specimen, that is new species, and we can define the data set or define the value for that data set. It may be 100, it may be 200, it may be 170, 80, whatever, it doesn't matter. Then the next part comes into the play, that is 3 ways to use brackets with an array name. First is declaring an array, that is integer, by applying the pressure. Then next, create the name type, that is integer array, then type int. Int along with the square bracket are different, and int type of the array int colon is the type of individual values. That means if you are using space over there, it is applicable for individual values. And if you are using say integer along with the bracket, that may be used for type of an array. To create a new array, example, pressure is equal to new integer, say value, it may be 100. We can, for example, we are going to take it 100. It may be of any different value. We can use it with 200, 300, according to the data set, whatever it is available with you, whatever you want to do or you want to deal it with. To refer the specific element in the array is also called as index variable. Along with that index, your programming may start with, or you can create the value for an array. Some array terminologies that we are using for creating an array. That is, for example, say temperature n plus 2. It may be array name. Temperature n plus 2, it is called as subscript. That must be an integer. That must be an integer or an expression that can evaluate to any integer. As we know that integer is nothing but a value, so it must be an integer if we are if we are using that temperature, or you can recognize it with the help of that square bracket. Along with that, the whole is called as index variable, also called as element or subscripted variable. The temperature, which is on the left hand side, I have shown it in the blue color, that is array name. N plus 2 is the index, and the whole is called as the index variable. Whatever that thing we have already defined, it is in terms of say 100. It may be in between that 100. We can able to write whatever the value we want. Whatever the value we want. What it is, it may be 32. For example, say 32 degrees Celsius, it will be the value of index variable, which is also called as an element of that array. For a given particular array, say temperature n plus 2 is equal to whatever that thing, and we are using it with the index variable, which is also called as the element of an array. There is a note, one quiet note that I have mentioned at the bottom of the screen, where the element may refer to either a single index variable in an array or the value of single index variable, or the value of single index variable. That is again a matter of concern. Next is the question arises, as I have rightly said just now, regarding the length of the array. It may be 100, maybe 200. We can look into that matter specifically. Specified by the number of brackets when created with new. One is maximum number of elements that array can hold. You can definitely note down the limit of that array for that given array which you want to focus it on. Second one is storage is allocated whether or not the elements are assigned values. The tribute length, it may be spices. Entry is equal to new spices, that is 20. System dot whatever the things that you want to print it out on the screen is like system dot out dot println for every length. That ln stands for length. Next is the length attribute is established in the declaration and cannot be changed unless the array is redeclared. If you want to redeclare that array, you need to change the attribute which is established in the declaration and cannot be changed unless the array is redeclared. It cannot be changed unless the value is redeclared. Next is array subscripts use zero numbering. The first element has subscript say 0, the second element has subscript say 1, and the nth element has subscript say n minus 1. The last element has subscript say length minus 1. For example, uh, in an integer array with 4 elements, for example, we can see subscript say I have denoted 4 different values along 4 different subscript along with their values. For example, say for 0 it may be 97, for 1 it is 86, 2 it is 90. It may be any different random value. Along with that range of the subscript, we can able to design how the subscript can be recognized for a particular value over there. Then next is where to use subscript, how to use subscript, and subscript out of range error. Using a subscript larger than length minus 1 causes a runtime error. That is, it may be not it may not in the hand of compiler, but an array out of the bound expectation is thrown. You do not need to catch it. You need to fix the problem and recompile your code. Other programming languages, for example, say C, C++, do not even cause any runtime error. One of the most dangerous characteristics for that of this language is that they allow mostly out of bound array indices, mostly out of bound array indices, in which the array length which is already specified at the time at the runtime, where array length which is specified is compile time, it may be integer array, say 1, where new integer, if you want to denote, it may be say new integer, it may be 10. You can also you can also add any different value over here. It is not like you can stick with only 10, you can stick with only 100. It doesn't matter, it may be a complete variable value, so you can be at any different part. And along with that, array length specified at runtime which calculate the size, and these are nothing but the operations that we are performing on array. Certain tips that I want to give it to you regarding the same singular array names. While storing any different type, while storing any singular rather than plural names of array, it really improves the readability of that array name. Although an array contains many elements in terms of common platform that may be used with the subscript along with the values which I have denoted just now, where it is easier to read. That means score is 3 than scores 3. If you are writing it in plural, if you are writing it in singular, it is quietly we can say useful as compared to plural, where score is 3 along with the bracket, that is a square bracket which denotes the actual variable of a particular value. Initializing an array values and its declaration, it can be initialized by putting a comma, separated list in braces. Along with that, an uninitialized element will be assigned to some default value. For example, say 0 for integer array, it may be a explicit uh, it may be an any explicit value initial which is explicitly initialized by that in the declaration. It may be double. Say for example, we are writing one example regarding the array with its bracket with its variable, which is of course in integer. Along with that, which is already mentioned, that is double with the square bracket for reading. It may be 5.1, it may be 3.02, it may be 9.65. Whatever the length you want to print it out in front of the screen, on the screen, that you need to rectify at the time of beginning of your program. Next is initializing the array elements in the loop, where, for example, for a loop is commonly used to initialize array elements. For example, integers say I. Note that loop counter may be an array with index goes from 0 to length say -1. As we have already studied the number line in the last class, where at the center there is a number 0, whereas on the left side of the number line there are the values which are located are like from -1 to say -n, and on the right hand side it is from it varies, it maybe varies from +1 to +n. Along with that, do not count the default initial values. That is a big matter of concern over here, where values of array elements are explicitly initialize the elements in the declaration, or it may be in the loop. The third part comes into the play over here is like arrays, classes, and methods. On the left hand side of the screen, I have denoted with the arrow with each and every element denotes for what particular thing. An array of class can be declared at the class methods applied to the elements of that array. Along with that, on the whole concept is the excerpt from the sales report program in the text, which uses sales associate class to create an array of sales associate. This is a particular example which I want to give it for sales associate rather. The syntax which is given on that in that box is like public void gate figures, which include system.out.println, which is the common statement in programming language C. We can enter the number of cells associates that we want to print it out on the screen, or that may be the input from the screen. This whole particular part, say after the fourth line says that cells associated whole cells associated bracket square bracket record is equal to the create an array of cells associate. What we have did over here, we have created the cells associated array, an array of cells associate. It may be of any different value, it may be integer. Of course, we have already mentioned it is in integer in the third line. The next part, where the record that we want to store it from where we are going to get it out, that means record of that value from which we are going to take it, that is square bracket I is equal to new cells associate. That square bracket I or that record square bracket I denotes each array element is a Salesforce associate variable. Along with that, record I read input, where we can use the read input method of cells associate. Wherever the thing we are going to use it for our benefit, for in the program where we want to utilize it in the future. This is all about the complete syntax, which I have explained it with the help of say arrays, classes, various classes, and then methods. Then the next part, that is array and array elements as a methods of arguments. Array and array elements can be used with classes and methods just like the other objects. Be an argument in a method. It may be written by methods. It may not be written by methods. It will be the argument in the method. Whatever the queries, whatever the questions that are coming in the complete slide, we need to rectify it by our own. Then index variables as methods of arguments. In the above example, as if we are working with that sales associate. Here also I am continuing the example of that sales associate. Along with that, in the first score, say keyboard is equal to integer dot keyboard dot next integer with a normal bracket, where next score is an array of integer. It may be it may, of course, it is variable. Integer is a variable that we are already aware about it. Whatever the value that comes as an integer, we have to we have to move it, we have to use it, we have to vary it accordingly wherever we can use it. An element of the next score is an argument of a method average, and last is average method. Of course, if the normal formula for calculation of average is like integer n1 comma integer n2 divided by 2, integer n1 plus n2 divided by 2, that's the normal average or calculation of average over there. Passing array elements, it is very simple as like this, that cells associate. Again, we are sticking with that same record. If we are using and if we are moving towards the another array elements, that public static void main along with that string which is already given to you, that is square bracket, along with that argument cells associated record, which is equal to new cells associate, that is number of associate that we need to uh, uh, denote at the start of the program. It may be vary from say 0, I is equal to 0 to I plus plus, whatever that thing. Along with that, some conditions that we are going to use over here, it may vary at any different case. Along, we can definitely say that it is nothing but the passing array elements. Then the next, mostly in terms of gate, we can say that the question in the gate there are two different types of different primitive types. One is the question was in the gate examination later previously was on the different primitive data types the array can use, which method can change an index variable argument. So simple. It may be call by value, it may be called by reference. In terms of C, there are two different primitive and we can say that class types, that are reference types. We can also say like this. Uh, One is call by value, and another one is call by reference. The basic example related to that I am going to give it to you is that you can call a particular student by his name, or you can call a particular student by its own identity. That is one thing. And another one is you can call a particular person or a student by by giving the reference of others. By giving the reference of others, of course. If we want to call any particular object, it may be a call by value. And if we want to call a particular person by giving the reference, you can also give the reference to of that person in a other way as well. Only where primitive types are called as call by value, where only a copy of the value is passed as an argument. A method cannot change the value of the index variable. And class types are of reference types. Class types are of reference types, where we can definitely give the particular value or give a call to a particular value by giving the reference of another one. First is pass the address of the object, and the corresponding parameter in the method definition becomes an alias, creates some ambiguity of the object. This is the method that has access to the actual object for which we are calling it for. So this method, that means if the question get asked like this, when can a method change an index variable argument? The index variable argument can be changed by using a non-primitive type or non-primitive data type, where we are going to call a function by its reference, where we are going to call a particular function by its reference. Likewise, uh, passing array elements, it is like simply integer which is grade, which is equal to new integer, that is 10. Again, object method, say we can denote that object method with the help of grade that cannot be changed, where method of integer grade, that is a pass by value. Here the example is integer grade, which is already passed by value. And if we are given the reference of a particular person with respect to a particular identity from the given object, it may be the pass by reference. So need to be aware about this type of questions. Mostly the time, the question or a theory type of question in terms of true or false type, the question is asked on that particular topic. The array names as a method arguments. We can just use the array name and no brackets, that means pass by reference, and a method which is having access to the original array and can change the value of the elements, that may be a pass by reference or call by reference. I can see the length of an array pass can be different for each call. When you define the methods, you do not need to know the length of that array that will be passed. No need of defining any particular array. No need of defining the method, that you need to know the length of an array, that what it will be passed, when it will be passed, and so on. And while using the length attribute inside the method to avoid array index out of bounds expectation. An array is an argument in a method call, where public static void that show array as a character integer I. For example, I is equal to 0, and it may be vary from a length from to I plus plus, which is greater than 1. Of course, system.out.println, that means the value which we are going to print it with the help of the given static or given syntax, that is a of I. The method argument is the name. This whole thing, this square bracket, is called as the method argument is the name of an array, where which is of characters, and which is using a length attribute to control the loop, which allows different size of arrays to avoid index out of the bound expectation. Out of the bound expectation, it means we have to denote the variable, we have to denote the thing which we are going to call it off. That may be integer, that may be a length which we need to rectify at the beginning of the program. Accordingly, we are going to use it. Arguments for the main for the method main. Yes, for the main method, what are the arguments that will be there? The heading of the main method should be a or it shows a parameter that is an array of string. It may be a public static void main, that is string along with the square bracket, and that arg stands for any argument. Say arg0, arg1, arg2 up to n. It may be an argument where you want to where you want to uh, run your program from the command line, and all words after the class name will be passed to the main method in an argument array. For example, say Java test program, it may be it is a Josephine the student. In this example, the output is like simply system.out.println, and the argument is like Josephine student. So it can definitely print hello Josephine student. Whatever that argument that we have already rectified with the help of that string at the beginning of the program, that will be there on the screen as a part of output. Next is integer, which is as a new integer. Integer a is equal to new integer, that is 3. Integer b is equal to new integer, that is 3. But if in that case for condition is there, integer I is equal to 0, I is less than a length I plus plus, where a of I is equal to I. In that case, if b is equal to 0, this does not create a copy of array a. In array, copying of elements or copying of value is not possible. System.out.println, yes, it is possible if it is not equal to each other. We can definitely use, or we can definitely print it out the new different values. Like in the output can be, the code is like simply the system.out.println a of 2 plus that double colon with b of 2, and a of 2 is equal to 10. If we are using a of 2 is the for the value a of 2, if we are using is equal to 10, then the output of the code will be like 2 2 10 10. It is nothing but a value which is changed in a, which is same as the value which we have obtained in b. Ultimately, we can definitely prove that a is equal to b, but this does not create a copy of array a. It makes b another name, or we have to use another name in terms of the same values as well. Using this equal to operator with an array names that can remember these different types, where a and b both are both 3-element array over here. That means already the value which is given at the beginning of the program, that we need to rectify with the help of new integer, whatever the value that will be the length of your, or that will be the length of element of your array which you are going to prove it out. All elements of a and b are assigned the value say 0. In the third case, where if b is equal to a, that is that if the address of a and b are equal, not if the array values are equal. System.out.println, where a does not equal to b, and the output of the code will be like a does not equal to b. If both values on the left hand side and the right hand side, if it is equal to each other, it can show that it is equal. If it not, it can definitely show a does not equal to b. Behavior of 3 operations, it is like primitive type, class type, entire array, and array element. See all the 3 different types which we have to mention it on the I have mentioned it on the left side of the screen of the table. That is assignment operator, equality operator, and parameter passing. In terms of primitive type, assignment is equal to is used for copy content. Class type, it is used for copy address. Entire array, it is used for copy address. And the behavior of that assignment operator, it's simply like in array element, it depends on the primitive type, or it depends on the class type as well. Next is in terms of equality as an operator, If for primitive data type, it is compare content. For class type, it is compare address, and for behavior, it is for compare address. Sorry, for entire array, it is again for comparing the address as well. Depend on the primitive class type in array element, the equality character behaves like that. The parameter praising character, it is passed by value. I have already explained the things. In terms of primitive operator, it is used for pass by value. In terms of class type, it is used for pass by reference. In terms of array, entire array, it is again used for pass by reference. That means we are able to give the address of a particular value of that entire array as well. Testing two arrays for equality. That means if we are using two test array for equality, you need to define an equal method, which is already shown in that equality part. That is double the. We have to put two times the equal to symbol. That denotes that two equal to operator, and method that returns true if and only the arrays have the same length of all corresponding values which are equal to each other. Say public static boolean. This is complete syntax. Now there are various methods that run and that return an array, and that various methods are the address of the arrays is passed, the local array name within the method is just another name for the original array, and third and next one is if we are using say C new array and then return type of vowels are at the same time. As we know that A, E, I, O, U are different vowels, where new array 0 stands for A, 1 stands for E, new array 2 stands for say I, 3 stands for O, 4 stands for say U. The whole values are the new character. They are having the 5 different character. Along with that, if we want to return an array, it should be a vowel, or it should be a vowel. That is, we can return only the value which we are defining it at the beginning of the program. Wrapper classes for arrays. That means arrays can be made into into objects by creating a wrapper class. By creating a wrapper class, which is similar to wrapper class for primitive types, and in the wrapper class, it can make an array as an attribute, and it can define the constructors as well. It can also define the accessor methods to read and write the element values and the parameters. Along with that, the text shows as an example of creating the wrapper class over here. One way, no repeat list. The wrapper class defines two constructors plus the following methods, that is add an atom. If it is full, empty, entry at the thing, entry at last entry, then on list, maximum number of entries, and erase list. This may be the classes which we are using it for wrapper class. I still remember one question came in that previous year, some of the gate paper, where which of this is not a wrapper class, and 4 options they have given it as a options. Out of them, 3 are of this from this category, from this example, and 1 is out of that. So you have to you have to give the right answer with that out of that, except the part which is not mentioned over here as a wrapper class. Partially filled arrays, where arrays can be element which is containing which contains something. That means element which have not been returned to certain, it contain unknown garbage data, so you should avoid reading them. Next, there is no automatic mechanism to detect how many elements have been filled. You as the programmer, you need to keep the track where it is mentioned and where it need to be mentioned. Again, say count of countries, no repeated count of countries will be acceptable, so no wrapper class will be there. So partially filled arrays are like this. Example of partially filled arrays, that entry 1 buy milk, entry 0 buy milk, entry 1 say call home, entry 2 say go to beach. Count of entries is equal to -1, and these two which I have mentioned in the color, say magenta color, that is the pink color, pinkish shade color, it is like the garbage value. where it is already there in the array, but we are not using while the array is going on. So count of entries has the value of 3, and entry length, that means the complete array length, is 5, where from that 5 we have used 3, and the 2 are garbage value. What are the operations that we can perform on array? One is searching, another one is sorting. As we all know that array is a collection of similar data types. There are many techniques for searching of an array for a particular value. If the data collected over here is with you is of similar data types, it is possible for you to find it out or to search it out for which and what element you are searching it for. Second one is sequential search, where at the beginning of the array and proceed in the sequence until either the value is found or the end of the array is reached. Of course, if we are performing the searching operation in the array, if you are performing the searching operation in the array, what it indicates? You have to search the whole array for which you are searching for. Next is, if it is not the most efficient way, but it works and it is easy to program, or it is just as easy as start and end and work backwards toward the beginning. It may be a sequential search, it may be a non-sequential, linear and non-linear. Sequential is also called as linear, and non-linear, it means you are quite aware about. We can definitely perform the searching operation in the trees as well. We can definitely perform the searching operation in the graph as well. Both of these data structures are non-linear, whereas we can also perform it in the linked list, that is a sequential search, or we can say it as a linear search. The onList method of one way, that is no repeat list, that sequentially searches the array entry to see if the parameter item is the array or not. So on. Uh, the next is returning an array attribute, where we can say like access methods that return the references of an array. By using a particular syntax, we can definitely return an array attribute, that means of an instance variable. Need to recognize it, remember it. Next one is, as if the searching is possible in the array, the sorting is also possible in an array. Exactly like searching, we can definitely sort the list of elements in the array in a proper order. There are different types of sorting, as we know that in terms of data structure. When we are going to deal with the data structure again, I'm going to explain these type of things to you, various sorting techniques. Some of the sorting techniques I have kept it in the upcoming slides, but along with that, in details, we'll see it in some of the other lecture when we are completely entering in the data structure. There are different types of sorting. One is selection sort, insertion sort, bubble sort, quick sort, radix sort, shell sort, merge sort, and so on. There may be n number of different types of sorting, but ultimate aim is to sort the given list of elements in a proper sequence. It may be ascending, it may be descending, or it may be of any different type, of any different parameter. But alphabetic as well, as we can also sort the list of elements in ascending order, descending order, or we can say it as in the string in alphabetic order as well. There are many ways to sort a list, which as just as there are many different ways to search a list, and some of them are I have already explained. Selection sort, it is quite easiest as compared to other sorting technique, but not more efficient. In terms of efficiency, quick sort is the best one. I have also added the table of that various sorting techniques which is required. Along with that, selection sort algorithm for an array. of integers. To sort an array on integers in ascending order, we can definitely able to find the smallest number. To record its index, we can definitely swap the smallest number with the first element of the array. We can also able to sort the part of an array which is now the first element, accordingly. The sorted part of an array is the first element, and the unsorted part of the array is the remaining elements. By using selection sort, this is the simple technique or simple algorithm to sort the elements in terms of, say, by using, say, selection sort. For example, the similar data types of 10 different variables I have given over here. Firstly, I have to arrange all the elements in ascending order. Where there is the smallest element, we have to select it from the left side of the screen, from the left side of the string, and we need to keep that particular value at the beginning of the string. In the given list of elements, that is in the given array, if it is mentioned that say 3 is there, so, and the very first element is already given, before swapping it is 7 at the beginning, and after swapping it will be 3 at the beginning. Likewise, same type of thing you have to perform unless and until you get the whole list to be in a sorted order. With the help of yellow color, I have mentioned the smallest remaining value, and with the help of green color, we have mentioned over here as a sorted element. Or we have, I can say like that gray color, can mention that the things like this. Uh, the example of that selection sort, it is like it is, notice the precondition. Every array element has a particular value and it may have some duplicate values as well. It can broken down into smaller tasks where we have to find the index value sorry index index of the smallest value that can interchange two different elements, or that can swap two different elements, which is a private because they are the helper methods that users are not expected to call them directly. Next different type of sorting I can definitely able to explain over here is insertion sort, where the basic idea of behind insertion sort is expanding the sorted portion by one. Keeping expanding the sorted portion by one, called as insertion sort, we can say. How that insertion sort works: it start with an element. If it is sorted, if it is already in sorted position, no need to swap. If it is not in sorted order, if it is not in sorted order, we can, while the sorted position it not the entire array, in that case we need to find the right position in the right position in the sorted position for the next element. Ultimately, we are again sorting over here. We can do the sorting by applying some different method. In that selection method, firstly we are going to select whatever the method is, and then we can utilize it. And over here in terms of insertion sort, we have to rectify the right position first, and then for the next element as well. Like this insertion sort, say before there are various iterations. The number of iterations values minus 1. If there are n different values, the number of iterations possible are n minus 1. Same thing, if in the given example, if there are 5 different values, the number of possible iterations to swap or to sort all the different elements in the given string is 4. So I have mentioned all the 4 iterations over here. First iteration is like the given string 53492, where we have to compare with the another and the different elements like 3 along with 5. Which one is smaller, that we need to keep it at the beginning. So the string will get like this 35492. The second iteration starts with 35492, and then we are going to compare 345. Whatever the smallest element, that we need to sort it or swap it to its appropriate position. After that, third iteration is like all the different 4 elements, 3, 4, 5 are already in sorted order. If 9 is at its appropriate position, no need to swap, should keep over there. After that, in the fourth next remaining unsorted value, that is 2, is at the last. So that need to be its that need to place at its appropriate position in the fourth iteration. That's called as insertion sort. Same thing, bubble sort we can also perform by using the algorithm. Like we can while the unsorted position there are more than one element, or accordingly we have to compare adjacent elements that need to swap elements in which are out of the order, and so on. When we are going to deal with the sorting techniques in the data structure, we will go in detail of every different sorting techniques along with their time complexity and space complexity. Majority 90% of the time in terms of data structure, if the question asks on sorting, definitely there will be a part which will be there for you people, or which will be the expected question, which is in terms of the time complexity or efficiency of an sorting algorithm. How to compare the algorithm and its efficiency in terms of small way, I can just now recognize the things like this, just now explain the things like this, that empirical analysis along with the wall clock, CPU time, or whatever the time that can be predict for the performance before implementing the algorithm. And theoretical analysis is like the approximation, which is thereby counting important operations that may be a mathematical function based on input size as well. Moreover, how fast and how slow the algorithm can get it, we can see it in the next class. Same thing. Okay, when we are going to deal with the arrays, there are various different types of arrays, different dimensional arrays. Multi-dimensional arrays, that means number of dimension is equal to number of indexes. It may be 2D, that means 2 by 2. It may be 3D, that means 3 by 3, and so on. A 2D array corresponds to a table or a grid. Grid means we can say that a matrix, where one dimension is a row and another dimension is a column. That means row along with the column. As we says that I have already says that it may be in terms of matrix, it can be of that particular type where we can use like where we can use like it is in terms of matrix form, that means row along with the column like this. Table 2 indicates the two-dimensional array where on the left side, I mean the columns are like distributed with the year, and the row they are along with, they are defining the percentage of the things. First dimension is the row identifier, that is year, and second dimension is the column identifier, that is percentage. Years are I mean differentiated over here on the row wise, that is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, and so on. This is again as a table of 2D array with row and column for your work. Along with that, a small example related to this complete array, I have given it to you. Then in terms of summary, as if we have to cover this particular array part first, and then we have to jump it according to the stacks and queues in today's class itself. An array may be a length and may be thought of as a collection of variables of same data types, as we know and we have studied it. An arrays also may be taught as a single object with large composite value of all the other elements in the array of the array. Array are the objects that are created with new in a manner similar to objects which is discussed previously. Part 2, in that summary, indexes like array indexes are using zero numbering. They can start it from 0, I plus 1, the I plus 1th element, and so on. A method may return an array as well. A partially filled array is one in which values are stored in an initial segment of the array. That's it. This is all about the arrays as well. And now we are going to focus it on stacks and queues, another part of data structure. In the upcoming classes, we'll now see about the trees and graph. In today's class, along with the linked list. And in today's class, we are going to cover about stacks and queues as well. What is stack? In the given slide, you are able to see a rack of books where we are going to keep all the books on each other. The question arises, which color book I have kept it first in the given string, in the given stack. I have kept the blue color book which is at the bottom of the stack. I have entered it first. I have inserted that element first. What is stack? A stack is a data structure of ordered atoms such that atoms can be inserted and removed only from one end. In the given diagram, if you look like this, we cannot insert out the book of blue color directly because other end is packed, only one end, that is the top end, is open. We can perform the insertion, that means insertion of new book as well as removing of that book from that given end itself. From that given end itself, we are not able to accessing the bottom part of the stack. So the, as I have rightly mentioned over here, for the book which we have inserted in the given stack, first is the color blue color book. Next, what can we do with the stack? We can perform the three different operations, that is addition of book, removing of book, and look at the item of the at the top of the stack, but do not remove it. These three different operations we can perform it on the stack. One is push, another one is pop, and third one is peek. Push is to place an item or to insert an item in the stack. Pop is for removing an item from the stack, and so on. Which operation stack can perform? Stack performs last in, first out type of operation. The stack is sometimes also called as push down store. What are some applications? Of course, the question arises why we are studying stack, where we are going to use stacks, and so on. The answer is like program execution, parsing, evaluating of postfix expression, prefix expression, and many more. And on many more times, we can use that stacks as well. The problem is it's simply like what happens if we try to pop an item off the stack when the stack is empty. Of course, if the stack is empty and if you are performing the pop operation, that means removing operation, it should be under flow. The pop method needs some way to telling that it has happened. In Java, we use the java.util except empty stack exception. Interface, no need to seek it out. You can definitely reverse a word by using stack. Because if we are entering a word, say RAM, if we are entering R first, means it is inserted at the bottom of the stack, and one end is already open. Then next you are inserting A, and then we are going to insert M. When we are removing, it means we have inserted R at the first time, A second, and third M. But when we are performing the pop operation, when we want to reverse the string, we have to first pop out M from the string, or from the stack, and then A, and then R. Ultimately, we can use the reversing of word over there. Then the next part, that is queue. What is queue? In that given diagram, in that given image, there are the people who are standing behind each other, called as queue. Ultimately, the operations on queue are exactly opposite in terms of stack. The difference in the stack, and the major difference from the in the stack and queue is like stack is open at only one end, whereas queue is open at both end. Major difference. Queue is open at both end. The element or the atom which inserted from the left side of the array can be exit from the right side of the array. It is a both open-ended queue. A data structure of ordered atoms such that atoms can be inserted only at one end and removed from other end. For example, a line in the supermarket, which I have mentioned over there, a line in the supermarket. What can we do with the queue? We can definitely do perform two different operations with the help of queue, that is enqueue and dequeue. Enqueue stands for adding an element into the queue, and dequeue stands for removing an atom from the queue. These operations are also called as insert, that is to get front. In order to simplify the things, queue performs FIFO operation, that is first in, first out. The element which inserted first can be exit first, and the element which inserted last can be exit at last. What are some applications of queue? Round robin scheduling is scheduling in processors, input output processing, queuing of packets for delivery in networks, and so on. We can perform these different applications on queue. Implementing a queue, it is just like a stack. We can implement it in two different ways, by using array and by using linked list. In with respect to linked list, we are going to see the complete linked list in the next class, where we are completely able to see to learn about various different categories, various different types, and various different operations that we are going to perform on the linked list in the next video. Implementing a queue, there are two different operations on implementing a queue. Option one is enqueue, I mean inserting the new element into the queue, and shift all the rest of the data items in the array which down to make a row. That means dequeue can also perform in that array as well. Enqueue, that means rear plus one. We need to add one more element at the rear end to exit it from the front end. That means to dequeue it from the front end. The rear variable always contains the index of the last atom in the queue, and the front variable always contain the index of the first atom in the queue. When we reach at the end of the array, we can definitely wrap around the front again. It means if we are connecting the last element with the first, called as circular queue as well. It means that queue may not add any new element into the queue, and that queue may not remove any different element from the queue. If we are implementing it with the help of option 2, sketch of insert, we can use it by this different thing. Front is equal to rear is equal to 0 in many cases. In that case, else rear is equal to rear plus 1, that is mod side, and data rear is equal to atom, that many items plus plus may also operate over there. For sketch 2, we can use this particular syntax. For example, front is equal to front plus 1 mod size, and many items, it is minus minus. It can be written your own answer. Third one is implementing a queue using linked list is quite easy as compared to others. That means front end of the queue is stored as the head node of the linked list. Rear end of the queue is stored as the tail node. Third one is enqueue that means insertion of new element can be added to the end of the list, and dequeue can be added by removing it from the front end of the list. This is all about the arrays, stacks, and queues. This is all about the arrays, stacks, and queues for today's class. Meet you in the next class. Thank you for patience hearing.